Exposed. The incredible journey of a Yeti bone smuggler who transformed lives in 30 days. In the quiet town of Pinewood, Montana, the whispers of a long-lost legend collide with the harsh reality of life. The townsfolk were entranced, a curious glimmer sparking behind tired eyes as they spoke of the fabled Yeti bones hidden deep in the wilderness, said to grant unimaginable wealth. Glimmering dreams hung in the air like dust motes catching the fading light, teasing their spirits for one moment of excitement, a distraction from economic despair. And at the heart of this tale was Jake Miller, a mechanic and devoted father, his heart heavy with burden and hope. Each dawn, Jake rose with the sun, wrench in hand, grease under his nails, fighting vigorously against a world that seemed determined to keep him down. Every dollar was precious, yet every meal at the table felt like a chugging train pulling away from a sinking ship. His 16-year-old daughter, Lily, stood defiant, rolling her eyes at his calls to a simple, grounded life. She was rebelling against their struggle, a fire igniting within her that Jake couldn't quite reach. He longed for a way to bridge the gap, a way to show her that dreams could still be more than just an idea. One afternoon at the diner, a hushed crowd leaned into each other, sharing the spine-tingling tale of those legendary bones. "Imagine wealth, a future you never thought possible," someone gasped. The thought washed over Jake with intoxicating allure. What if? Could he transform their lives? His heart pounded, mirroring the yearning in his daughter's eyes, a craving for adventure, for connection. Was this the spark to pull them back together? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jake soon found himself entangled with a motley crew, voices rising in anguish and determination. There was Ellen, the librarian whose words were her solace, fighting to keep the only library in town alive. And Marcus, whose laughter belied the crushing weight of layoffs. Their shared struggles birthed a camaraderie, a chance to unite against the tide of despair. Excitement crackled in the air as they planned, setting aside their morals in the name of hope. But as they plunged deeper into their covert operation, shadows crept in. News broke, and whispers turned into scoffs. Jake, once a proud mechanic, now a suspect smuggler. Lily's face morphed from confusion to betrayal, slicing Jake's heart into jagged pieces. The townsfolk he once called family wore expressions of doubt, and Jake was thrust into the spotlight, grappling with the consequences of his choices and the eye of the storm. A burning realization sparked within Jake a chance to unite the community, to stand together against the very injustice that had driven them to desperation. What if they could fight back, not just for their own survival but for each other? But the echo of uncertainty loomed. Could he mend the fraying bonds with Lily? As the dust settled around him, Jake clung to a flicker of hope. Would this legendary journey lead them to redemption, or destroy everything he held dear? Jake sat on the porch late that evening, the sun setting behind the jagged mountains, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. Felt surreal, so beautiful and tragic at the same time. He leaned back in his chair, listening to the familiar sounds of Pinewood settling into night. Crickets chirped while a cool breeze rustled the leaves. But the peace was shattered by thoughts of Lily. Her face, scrunched in disappointment and anger, replayed in his mind. He never wanted to hurt her. He just wanted a better life. As he closed his eyes, shame washed over him. Was it really worth risking their relationship for whispers of treasure? A part of him thought yes, if it meant they could escape their spiral. But the ache in his heart contradicted that. Ellen walked out, carrying 2 glasses of lemonade. "You okay, Jake? You've been awfully quiet," she said, concern lining her voice. He accepted the lemonade gratefully, trying to mask the storm brewing inside him. "Just thinking about Lily. I didn't mean for it to go this far." "You're trying to give her something more," Ellen replied, sitting down beside him. But it might be that what she needs most right now is you. Not a treasure hunt. Jake shuddered at the thought. She might be right. But how could he explain that the desperation that led him to this hunt for Yeti bones wasn't just about the wealth? It was about hope, about possibility. As dusk surrendered to darkness, whispers filled the air again, the townsfolk talking about the rumored bones. Some claimed they were cursed, while others believed it was just a myth. The social fabric of Pinewood was unraveling, with Jake caught in the fray. Tomorrow, he said finally, determination threading through his voice. I'll talk to Lily. I'll make her see. Ellen placed a hand on his shoulder. Just be honest. She'll understand, and she needs to know you're not just some smuggler. That piece of advice hung in the air as they both fell silent. Moments later, there was the faint sound of footsteps approaching. Jake turned to see Marcus strolling over, his typical easy grin replaced by a serious expression. Hey, I heard about a meeting at the community center tomorrow night, Marcus began. People are gathering. They want to stand together against those rumors. Help each other out. Jake nodded, sensing the swell of hope. We need to find a way to turn this around, he said. This can't just be about bones in the woods. We need to show them we're better than this. A flicker of courage ignited within him. He thought of the townsfolk's faces, worn yet eager for change. A plan began to form, and for perhaps the first time, he saw a path forward that didn't involve deception. Let us do it, Jake said with confidence, his heart racing with fresh determination. Not for the wealth, but for the connection. For all of us. Just then, distant laughter echoed from the diner, a reminder of the tight-knit community that still pulsed with life. But as he prepared to step back into that world, a sudden chill ran down his spine. He remembered Lily. Could this journey lead to healing, or further fracture their bond? As Jake and his friends made their way towards the noise, the night deepened, and a sense of impending change settled in the air. Tomorrow's meeting might not just decide the town's fate. It might change everything for him and Lily. Would their bond survive the world they were about to face? As they walked into the darkness, he couldn't shake the feeling that the real journey was only just beginning. The morning sun broke over Pinewood the next day, casting golden light on the town that had felt so heavy just hours before. Jake's heart raced as he prepared himself for the conversation with Lily. He could see the vibrant colors of summer reflected in the world around him. The trees swayed gently, and the air buzzed with the promise of change. He knocked on the door to their little cabin, nerves fluttering in his stomach like trapped butterflies. After a moment, it creaked open, revealing Lily, her hair tousled. She looked surprised but quickly masked it with a neutral expression. Jake, she said, her voice a mix of caution and curiosity. What brings you here? He took a deep breath. Can we talk? I need to explain everything. Lily hesitated, but she stepped aside, allowing him to enter. The room felt charged with unsaid things. Her eyes watched him keenly, and he could sense she was preparing herself for either an apology or a confrontation. Look, about what happened, he started, his voice shaky. I didn't mean for you to find out like that. I thought I could save us, but I see now how it hurt you. Her expression softened slightly, but the hurt lingered. Jake, I know you wanted something better for us, but you didn't trust me. You kept secrets. Jake looked away, shame flooding him again. I thought if I could find the treasure, we could finally get out of this place. No more worries, no more struggles. But it was never just about the money, was it? She pressed, her voice growing quiet. It was about escaping, about running away. He wanted to deny it, but deep down he knew she was right. I thought if we could have something, anything, then we could face it together. But instead I pushed you away. A tear glimmered in her eye. Jake, I need you here not as some idea of what could be. I can't stand the thought that you might be chasing shadows instead of living the life right in front of you. In that moment, it felt like a wall between them had cracked. I'm so sorry, he said, stepping closer. I never meant to chase you away. I want to build something with you, a life that feels honest. Lily studied his face, searching for sincerity. Finally, she nodded. Then let us try to build it together, but we need to be honest. No more secrets. Can you promise me that? He took her hands in his, feeling their warmth. I promise, no more secrets. Let us face this together, whatever it is. They stood in that small room, hands linked, hearts beating in sync. Jake felt the weight lifting as hope replaced despair. Maybe they could navigate their way out of this, hand in hand. As they walked outside, the sun warmed their shoulders, and the world felt alive. They saw the diners beginning to gather, people chatting, sharing stories of the night before, and there was laughter again, something they both had missed too much. Are you ready for the meeting? Lily asked, her voice filled with determination. Jake nodded, feeling lighter than he had in days, more than ever. But just then, a commotion arose at the edge of the gathering. Voices raised, hands gestured wildly, and Jake's heart sank. It seemed the rumors were not just whispers anymore, they were becoming a storm. What's happening? Lily asked, her brow furrowing as they pushed closer. They realized that something had happened. A figure stood in the crowd, claiming to hold evidence that would shake Pinewood to its core. In that moment, Jake felt the ground shift beneath him. He grasped Lily's hand tighter, knowing that their next steps might lead them into deeper waters than either of them anticipated. Could they weather this storm together, or would the truth tear them apart? As he stood on the cusp of a new battle, uncertainty danced in the air. As Jake and Lily pushed their way through the crowd, the tension was palpable. Expectations buzzed in the air, a mixture of fear and intrigue. People were on their toes, voices rising, eyes glued to the figure standing on a makeshift platform fashioned from crates. He was an older man with a wild shock of gray hair. He held a stack of papers that fluttered in the breeze like leaves refusing to let go of their branches. Jake's gut twisted. He recognized the man as Rory, the town's old historian, a man used to telling tales of lost treasures and legends of Pinewood. With a booming voice, Rory called out, "Listen, all of you. I have proof. Proof of a secret that could change everything you thought you knew about this town and about your lives." The crowd fell silent, anticipation brewing in every heart. Jake's breath caught in his throat. The weight of Rory's words hung heavy in the air. Lily squeezed his hand harder, as if anchoring them both to the ground. Years ago, Rory spoke, his voice growing raspy. Something was hidden here, a treasure buried deep beneath our very feet. Not gold, not jewels, but something far more valuable. Something that could unravel the fabric of our community. Whispers rippled through the crowd, growing louder, fueled by adrenaline. Jake's thoughts raced. Treasure? Was he throwing himself into a whirlwind of greed again? What could be more valuable than friendship? Lily whispered, concern etched across her features. Before Jake could respond, Rory thrust the papers forward, revealing photographs. They were faded snapshots of old maps and ancient artifacts. These bones, he pointed with a gnarled finger, belonged to a Yeti, and they were stolen, smuggled across borders, and hidden here. If we don't reclaim them, the stories of our town will vanish, and so will our history. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Jake felt the nervous energy materialize into something grander, almost mythical. But a sense of alarm stirred in him too. The history of the town was important, but how far would they go to protect it? What else have you kept hidden, Rory? Jake shouted, his voice fighting against the pounding of his heart. How do we even know this is true? Rory met Jake's gaze, eyes fierce. You want to know the truth? You just need to look around. Others have tried to uncover this, and they're in danger. Each path we take from here can either forge our future or destroy all we hold dear. The weight of Rory's words draped over Jake like a heavy cloak. Behind the promise of discovery lay a darker undertone. The crowd was getting restless again, some shouting for action, others demanding answers. Lily turned to Jake, eyes wide with uncertainty. What do we do? He pulled her closer, realizing the gravity of their decision. We can't let fear dictate our choices. We have to see this through. Just then, a shout erupted from the perimeter of the crowd, drawing attention away from Rory's proclamation. They're coming, someone yelled, panic spreading like wildfire. All eyes turned, searching the commotion for signs of what was approaching. Jake felt a surge of adrenaline. They were already intertwined in a confrontation larger than themselves. The stakes had suddenly risen. With the town on the brink of turmoil, Jake tightened his grip on Lily's hand. Would they stand together against the tide of chaos? Or would they find themselves overwhelmed in a battle for the truth? As Jake felt the weight of uncertainty bear down again, he couldn't shake the thought, was the treasure worth it? Or would it lead them to more danger than they could handle? The crowd erupted into a frenzy, startled gasps and cries twisting through the air like a summer storm. Jake felt Lily's fingers quivering in his grip, and he turned to see a group of shadows looming near the edge. 3 figures emerged, cloaked in dark jackets, their faces obscured. Anxiety flooded him. "What do you think they want?" Jake whispered, scanning the crowd for allies. But everyone was focused on the newcomers, eyes wide, fingers pointing. Rory raised a hand, trying to regain control, but the murmurs swelled, drowning out his voice. "Stay calm," he shouted, though his eyes betrayed a hint of fear. The dark figures moved closer, weaving through the crowd, their presence like an omen. Jake's heart raced. Who were they, and what danger did they bring? Maybe they're after the treasure too, Lily speculated nervously, her breath quickening. Jake shook his head. There's more than that. Rory mentioned danger, something's not right. He scanned the faces around them, searching for someone who might know more. The air thickened with apprehension as the figures reached the edge of the platform. One stepped forward, his voice booming. "Rory, you should have stayed silent. Digging into the past can cost more than you're willing to pay." The crowd gasped again, the tension unraveling slightly as Rory stood frozen. "Who are you?" he demanded, bravely meeting the man's stare. "Just a friend of the bones." The man smirked, tilting his head. "You think you can just rattle the truth without consequences?" Jake exchanged a glance with Lily, a mix of fear and determination in her eyes. They weren't just bystanders anymore. They were caught in a web they barely understood. "Everyone," Jake called out suddenly. "This isn't just about a treasure or a legend. This is about our future. We can't let fear drive us apart." His words hung in the air, a challenge, a rallying cry. Slowly, a few faces turned in his direction, hesitant but intrigued. "Right?" Rory joined in, his voice gaining strength. "We've always believed in the stories that connected this town, stories shared over bonfires and late-night whispers. We can fight together." The masked man laughed, but the sound was sharp, cutting through the camaraderie. "Together, or apart, your choice, old man. But just know, we will reclaim what's ours. And our reach goes beyond just this town." Lily tugged at Jake's sleeve, her eyes wide. "Are they here to stop us? Because we know about the bones?" Jake took a deep breath. "They want to scare us. We have to stand our ground." But beneath that brave facade, doubt lingered. What if standing up only brought them more peril? Rory seemed to sense the change, the underlying current drifting through the crowd. "Listen, everyone. We don't have to let fear paralyze us. We can investigate, dig deeper into what has happened right under our noses. We must protect our history." The masked man stepped down from the platform, inching closer. "You think you understand danger, old man? We'll show you the meaning of intrigue." Jake stepped forward, heart pounding. "You think you have power over us? We're ready to stand up for what's right." The man's eyes sparkled with menace, and Jake realized they were standing at the precipice of something much larger than they had anticipated. As the masked figure glared back, the momentum shifted, an invisible line drawn in the sand. In that moment, Jake felt the weight of the community behind him, a quiet strength building with each breath. But what if that strength wasn't enough? With the stakes rising, he knew one thing for sure. They had only just begun scratching the surface of the truth. What lay beneath was a mystery deep enough to swallow them whole. Next week, he thought, we'll find out just how deep this goes. But would they be ready for what waited in the shadows, lurking just beyond the grasp of their courage? Jake barely felt the chill seeping through his skin as the masked figure's threat lingered in the air. The crowd was restless, But something undeniable was building among them, a unity sparked by shared resolve. He could sense it, like a pulse feeding life into their fading hopes. As the man stepped closer, Jake held his ground, his heart pounding louder than before. "What do you want?" he shouted, his voice steadying against the chaos. "Revenue," the man replied with that same twisted smirk, glancing around as if sizing everyone up. "This town knows secrets, and so do we. Secrets that, if disturbed, could unleash chaos. But if you choose to cooperate, maybe we can strike a deal." Rory clenched his fists at his sides. "We don't need deals that come from intimidation. We need understanding. You're not the only ones who know how to protect these secrets." And with that, a wave of murmurs rippled through the gathering. For once, Jake noticed a flicker of defiance in the eyes around him, some taking a step closer to Rory, as if reclaiming their own agency. There's the spirit." The man, clearly amused, gestured dismissively at the crowd, but his eyes remained cold. "You all think this is a fairy tale, don't you? Once you dig too deep, you'll find that there are real consequences. The bones are just the beginning." Lily squeezed Jake's hand, squeezing tighter with each word the masked man uttered. "This isn't right, Jake. I can feel it. They're not just here for threats. They want something more. Stay close," he whispered back, needing to keep her close, anchored amid the shifting tides of fear. The crowd grew restless again, with whispers turning into laughter, as if they were daring the dark figures to follow through. "What do we do?" Jake asked Rory quietly, his eyes scanning the mass of people now emboldened by their growing courage. Rory seemed to inhale deeply, drawing power from something ancient. "We must show them. We can protect our past without being crushed by it." And just like that, the momentum surged. Jake felt it bolstering him. An echo resonated with a forceful inclination to reclaim their narrative, to stand against whatever darkness threatened their future. "Listen," Rory shouted again, raising his hands for silence. "We have our history, a treasure trove of stories. They can't take that from us." As Rory's words fanned the flames of rebellion, Jake felt the strength of his voice settling in the crowd. A palpable energy surged, awakening the spirit of togetherness that had long been dormant. He could see faces turning, fear transforming into resolve. Suddenly, the masked figures stepped backward, confusion painted across their features. "You think you're brave?" The leader scoffed, but there was doubt now, a crack in his armor. "You don't know what you're up against. We have friends everywhere." Jake looked over to Lily, her gaze unwavering, shining with a fierce light. "We don't need friends like that," Jake shouted back. "We are enough, standing shoulder to shoulder. Our fears can't control us." Gasps filled the air again, anticipation hanging like a thunderstorm ready to burst. The crowd, sensing the moment, began to step forward, joining together, forming a barrier against the encroaching darkness. And just as the tension peaked, another figure emerged from the shadows, an unexpected sight that cut through the turmoil. It was old Mr. Thompson, the town historian, approaching with purpose and urgency. "Jake, Rory," he called, his voice cracking yet steady. "I've been looking for you. You need to know about the bones. There's so much more at stake." What revelation lay trapped in Mr. Thompson's words? As he stepped further into the light, the crowd quieted, waiting for the truth that had the potential to change everything. Would it fortify their resolve, or shatter their newly found hope? Jake felt a mix of dread and anticipation. The journey deepened, and now, they were spiraling toward something monumental, pulling them all closer to an inevitable confrontation. Mr. Thompson moved quickly, his weathered face lined with worry and resolve. The low murmur of the crowd faded as they focused on him, their historian, their connection to the town's roots. He raised his hands, signaling the need for silence, but the storm of emotions brewed just beneath the surface. "Listen," he began, his voice steady despite the chaos swirling around them. "You're right, Jake. This isn't just about the bones. It's about what those bones represent, a history we've buried. A legacy of fear and secrets that should have never been hidden." Jake instinctively stepped closer to Lily, feeling the warmth of her hand in his. They shared a glance, worry etching their expressions but determination shining through. "What do you mean?" Rory urged, his voice demanding answers. "What history are we dealing with?" "Years ago," Mr. Thompson explained, his eyes scanning the faces of the crowd. "This town was home to a different kind of life, a life that was once vibrant and thriving. The bones, those relics, they're not mere remains. They connect us to our ancestors, and the secrets they hold can ground us or drown us. If we don't confront them, we risk letting others control our story." A ripple of understanding spread through the crowd. Each individual felt the weight of the history they had neglected, the importance of acknowledging rather than fearing their past. "If we don't expose the truth," Mr. Thompson continued, his voice rising in intensity, "then we give power to those who thrive on our ignorance. They want to bottle our past, twist it into something dark. But together we can reclaim it. Together," someone shouted from the back, and then another echoed in agreement. The chants grew louder, rallying more voices until it became a chorus. Jake's heart raced, pumping energy through his veins, urging him to stand tall alongside his neighbors. Yet, just as the tide of unity surged, the masked figures exchanged furtive glances, their confident facade wavering. Jake noticed the flicker of uncertainty in their eyes. "We're not afraid of you," he shouted, the defiance swelling within him. "Not of your threats, not of your monsters. You'll find we are stronger than you think." The leader of the masked figures stepped forward, his smirk fading slightly. "You don't know the battle you're facing. Secrets can twist minds, ruin friendships. You think this will end in victory? There are costs." "What kind of costs?" Rory challenged, holding the crowd's fierce energy like a shield. "We've already paid too much with our silence. It's time to stand our ground." Mr. Thompson's expression turned grave as he interjected, "There are darker forces at play here. They're not just interested in the bones. They want what they represent, the soul of our town. If we let them win, we let our history die." The crowd gasped collectively, a wave of realization crashing over them. Lily tightened her grip on Jake's hand, fear mingling with a newfound resolve. "Somebody has to break the silence," Jake thought, seeing the glimmer of hope reflected in the eyes around him. "This is our chance." But just then, the masked leader pulled a small object from within his cloak, a gleaming, ornate compass. "This, my friends, is your truth," he declared. "Follow it, and you'll discover the skeleton key to your history and your inevitable doom." Every heart in the crowd skipped a beat. Questions flooded through Jake's mind. What did that compass lead to? Could it truly reveal the hidden truths they needed? Or were they stepping into a trap? The tension grew taut, thickening the air around them. As Jake stared at the figure holding the compass, adrenaline surged through his body. "Whatever it takes," he murmured to Lily, determination blazing in his eyes. "We're not backing down." What path would that compass reveal? Would they find a beacon toward redemption, or would it lead them into deeper darkness? The air crackled with anticipation, heavy with the weight of history and the threat of danger. Jake's heart pounded like a war drum in his chest as the masked leader held the compass aloft, a sinister glint dancing in his eyes. The crowd shifted restlessly, their earlier bravado now tangled with the fear of uncertainty. Each face was a patchwork of emotions: hope, dread, and a simmering defiance. "Do you dare?" the masked man taunted, his voice dripping with malice. "Do you really want to follow the path of those who came before you?" They thought they could reclaim their truth too. Mr. Thompson stepped forward, now the embodiment of courage. "We're not afraid of the past," he declared, his voice resonating with authority. "It's time we confront it, not cower in its shadows." The crowd erupted, voices rising, drowning out the masked figure. Jake looked over at Lily, her expression fierce now, her hand squeezing his reassuringly. They were in this together. The urge to protect her ignited a sense of purpose deep within him, fueling his resolve. "Let us take that compass," Jake shouted, taking a step towards the masked figure. He felt the energy of the crowd start to swell behind him, pushing him forward like a wave. He could almost hear the whispers of history beckoning him, urging him to delve into the unknown. The masked leader hesitated, his smirk faltering as he sensed the shift. "You're making a grave mistake," he warned, but the crowd moved as one, their voices harmonizing into a chorus of defiance. Rory voiced the tremors of outrage felt by all. "What have you done to our past?" he demanded fiercely. "You think you can control us with fear? You're wrong. We will not stand idly by." Just then, the compass glowed ominously, as if reacting to the gathering spirit of the crowd. Every eye in the plaza seemed drawn to it, a magnet for curiosity and dread. The masked leader, sensing the impending loss of his grasp on the crowd, took a step back, but it was too late. The momentum was undeniable. "What do you want from us?" Jake pressed, his heart racing as he focused on the leader. "What does it take to let us reclaim our history?" A low chuckle escaped the leader's lips, sending shivers through Jake. "Takes more than courage. Takes sacrifice. Darkness demands a price." The words hung in the air, wrapping around them like a fog. Jake felt dread settle into his gut, gnawing at his resolve. "What are you planning to take?" he asked, voice cracking with tension. The masked figure's gaze turned cold. "You'll find out soon enough," he replied cryptically. With a swift motion, he closed his fist around the compass, tucking it away securely. A silence fell over the crowd, thick and heavy. Jake could see the questions swirling in everyone's eyes, uncertainty creeping in like a thief in the night. In that moment he made a choice. "We're going after that compass," he said firmly, his voice unwavering. "Whatever it takes, we need to know the truth." The crowd buzzed with hesitant energy. He could feel their hearts racing, their spirits wavering yet intrigued. This was their moment, the chance to uncover who they were and what they could stand for. Before he could even process their next move, the leader waved dismissively, stepping backward into the shadow of the nearest building. "You follow it and you'll find more than you bargained for. But remember, every step taken might cost you something you hold dear," he warned ominously, before disappearing into the dark as dread and determination enveloped them. Jake turned to Lily. "We have to find that compass. It's our only chance." Together, they stepped forward, ready to face whatever mysteries awaited them. But hidden within that embrace of resolve, another thought lingered. What if the ultimate cost came at the price of their very souls? With the echo of the masked man's warning lingering in their minds, Jake and Lily began their quest into the unknown, not realizing how truly deep the rabbit hole would go. As Jake and Lily stood at the edge of the plaza, anticipation surged through the air like electricity. The crowd was still buzzing, caught between hope and the shadow of fear. Jake exchanged glances with Mr. Thompson, who nodded resolutely, urging the group to move. "Let us gather our gear." Mr. Thompson rallied, raising a fist. "We can't let fear stop us. We need to head towards the old ruins. If there's a chance to find that compass, that's our best bet." Lily squeezed Jake's hand tighter as they turned to follow. It was hard to ignore the weight of the masked leader's cryptic words. Every step felt like a countdown toward something they couldn't fully comprehend. As the group sought refuge in a nearby shed to prepare, Jake felt an unexpected wave of determination wash over him. He shared his findings from hidden maps he had pieced together from old archives, maps that led to the very ruins the leader seemed to guard so fiercely. "It's time to dig deep," Jake urged, spreading the map across an old table. "These ruins are our link to the past, and with it we might uncover who we truly are." Lily leaned closer, tracing the faded lines with a finger. "What if the compass is more than just a relic? What if it holds real power?" Her voice was softer now, but edged with a fervor that matched his own. There was something special in those moments, a blend of fear and excitement igniting a fire in their hearts. Yet, the uncertainty gnawed at Jake. "But what will that power cost?" he whispered, voicing the thought that haunted him. It was a lingering question that refused to fade, as if echoing the leader's warning. The plan was simple yet dangerous. They would approach the ruins under the cover of darkness, with backpacks filled with only the essentials: flashlights, food, and that lingering hope. Jake and the group made their way through the winding streets, past silhouettes of buildings that whispered secrets long forgotten. As they ventured closer to the ruins, the atmosphere changed. The air turned cool, thick with the fragrance of moss and decay. Shadows loomed longer, seeming to flicker in time with their cautious steps. The closer they got, the louder Jake's heartbeat became, matching the sound of their overlapping footsteps. "Look," whispered Rory, pointing toward the gnarled entrance of the ruins. It stood half-shrouded in darkness, an ancient archway almost swallowing the light. Jake's breath caught in his throat. "This is it," he said, heart racing as they approached the entrance. He could sense the energy crackling in the air, the same energy that had urged them forth in the plaza. It felt alive, almost sentient. Suddenly, a chill swept through him, a deep-rooted instinct warning him of the danger that lay within. Beside him, Lily stepped closer, her fingers brushing against his arm, grounding him as they faced the unknown. "We can do this, together," she said, her voice steady. With a deep breath, they stepped into the darkness. It swallowed them whole, echoes of their dare reverberating off ancient stones. Inside, the air was heavy. Darkness wrapped around them, and Jake felt a tingle race down his spine. What if we find that compass but lose ourselves? He thought, heart aching with the enormity of the question. Just then, a faint glow illuminated the path ahead. They exchanged nervous glances, both drawn by an unknown force. If the compass was near, could it also mean the cost was closer than they'd ever imagined? But as they pressed forward, a rumble echoed through the ruins. The ground trembled beneath them. What awaited Jake and Lily in the depths of these haunted walls? Would they uncover the truth, or would the shadows demand a sacrifice? The tremble underfoot grew stronger, sending a cascade of loose stones clattering away into darkness. Jake's heart raced. Every instinct screamed to turn back, but the glow ahead beckoned like a lighthouse in a storm. "Stay close," he whispered to Lily, gripping her hand tighter. They moved forward together, fear and determination swirling in the chaotic mix of fear and resolve. Each step felt charged, the air electric with anticipation. The light they followed flickered as they rounded a bend, revealing a cavernous room adorned with ancient carvings and murals that told tales of a time when spirits roamed free in these woods. But it was the source of the glow that drew their attention, a pedestal rising from the earth, crowned with an ornate compass that shimmered like a gemstone. Jake's throat went dry. "We found it," he breathed, a mix of awe and dread pooling in his stomach. The compass spun erratically, as if it had a will of its own. "Is it safe?" Lily questioned, her eyes wide and filled with equal parts excitement and caution. Rory stepped forward, eyes fixed on the compass. "It may guide us to the truth about our past, but we must tread lightly. Remember the warning, every truth demands a cost." Before they could decide on their next move, they heard footsteps echoing from a distance. Jake's blood turned cold as he recognized the familiar thud of boots. The masked figures were closing in. Panic flared in his chest. "We can't let them take it," he exclaimed. The group rallied, each of them urging one another as they began gathering around the pedestal, forming a protective barrier. "If we stand together," Jake urged, "we can confront whatever comes next." He locked eyes with Lily, seeing the fierce resolve that set her apart. "We protect our history. We protect each other." As they encircled the compass, the door at the far end of the cavern swung open, revealing the cloaked figures. The leader stepped forward, his expression a well of dark amusement. "You really thought you could keep the compass from us?" he sneered. "Maybe you don't understand." Rory's voice rang out, steady as a heartbeat. "This isn't just a battle for a relic. It's about the soul of our town, our community." Jake could feel the unity growing strong around him, fueled by years of struggle and hardship. The crowd behind him stirred with renewed confidence, drawing from the collective strength that had been buried for too long. "You don't scare us," Lily shouted, eyes lit with conviction. "You can't take what doesn't belong to you." "Foolish children," the leader hissed, the smirk wavering now as he glanced at his companions. "You'll rue the day you crossed us. You have no idea what you've awakened." With a sudden wave of his hand, shadows off to the side shifted. Dark figures materialized from the gloom, looking more menacing than before. Together, Jake shouted as the crowd rose to the challenge. "We have each other, and we will not back down." A surge of courage washed over them, amplifying their resolve. As the masked figures stepped forward, Jake felt a warmth from the compass behind him. It pulsed gently, glowing hotter as if responding to the unity glowing in the chamber. "Now!" he called, and he could feel the energy of 100 hearts behind him as he leapt forward. The room erupted in a cacophony of emotion, fearful cries, determined shouts, and echoes of an awakening spirit. As they advanced, the compass suddenly whirled violently, casting beams of light that danced across the stone walls. With each pulse, shadows flickered and shifted, the dark entities retreating as if the light were a cleansing fire. The masked leader reeled backward. "What is happening?" he shouted, fear now flashing in his eyes. Together, Jake, Lily, and the townsfolk forged ahead, knowing that their connection to each other was the true strength they needed against the encroaching darkness. The compass radiated warmth that flowed through their limbs, empowering them, invigorating their purpose as the light expanded. The hidden history of Pinewood began to emerge from the walls, stories of community, resilience, and unity echoing through the chamber. Jake felt the heaviness lifting as their ancestors seemed to join them, inspiring courage to face threats head-on. "Stand firm. We are the guardians of our legacy," Rory shouted, pulling everyone closer. The masked figures faltered, their bravado cracking. "You'll regret this," the leader hissed, but it sounded hollow now. "No, we'll embrace it," Jake countered, eyes locked on the glowing compass. "We'll share the stories, the truth, and we'll forge our future together." With a roar, they surged forward, fueled by the light from the compass and the power of every heart joining in the stand against fear. The masked figures melted back into the shadows, defeated by the very spirit they sought to extinguish. The compass spun wildly, then finally came to a stop, pointing resolutely towards the entrance. The last of the darkness dragged itself away, revealing an archway leading them back into the world above. It was a passageway back to them, a path to hopeful tomorrows, where stories would be shared and legends reclaimed as they stepped into the daylight. Jake looked at Lily, their souls intertwined in the purpose they found among the ruins. "We did it," he said, breathless with joy. Together, she smiled, radiant. And for Pinewood, a new chapter began, one built on truth, connection, and the courage of a community reborn. It was not just a treasure they achieved, but a legacy renewed, one heartbeat at a time, showing that even in the darkest of times, light could always be found if they stood side by side. Before they could celebrate their victory, Jake turned back, a spark in his eyes. "This is just the beginning. There's so much more to uncover, and we'll do it together." The road ahead looked bright, and they were ready to follow the compass, to discover truth, love, and the adventures waiting just beyond the horizon. This isn't just a story, but a call to action. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive tales. Leave a like now to feed that algorithm and show your support. Every click counts. Comment below your feelings about today's ending. We want to hear from you. And don't forget, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Show you understand the importance of supporting the channel.